Hello and welcome to Mindset Mondays with DTK. This is episode 61. Still out in San Diego with a view of the harbor. Oops, there we go, with a view of the harbor. And settled in this morning. Episode 61. Again, for those of you who are new to Mindset Mondays is an ongoing series of weekly Facebook Live broadcasts. They're designed for folks with a growth mindset or those who'd like to create one. It's a chance to play with new ideas, new concepts, and try on new mindsets. So the playground today is this. Get a chance to play with this quote. Anyone who stops learning is old. Whether at 20 or 80, anyone who keeps learning stays young. Well, I've just finished helping be part of the leadership team for a Rich Laban Intensive for a 4-day learning environment with 150 coaches in one room for 4 days. Remarkable experience and a great example of people at every age learning. We had folks who were new to coaching, their first career ever, that were in their early 20s. And we had some coaches who were or new coaches who have been Vistage chairs, one of them for 23 years. So we had a wide variety of folks ranging from their early 20s into their early 70s from all over the planet. We had 3 folks in from Singapore. So it was a remarkable experience watching people learn new things and deepen their mastery. There is no end to learning, right? The environment was incredibly engaging and energizing. And it was that lab practical in seeing learning at different ages and how it keeps you younger. I shared the story in the email leading up to this broadcast, the theory that Elaine has, my wife, the idea that people in a business partnership or a life partnership don't tend to grow apart. We always have this idea that people grow apart, and it's not really the way it feels. People outgrow each other. So the growing apart is more on a vertical growth curve. You have some people who are constantly looking to grow and some who prefer the status quo. Elaine calls them the growers versus status quoers. And the challenge is, as you have somebody who continues to grow, who continues to improve themselves and work on themselves and become more and elevate who they are, it can cause a lot of dissonance and a lot of disconnect in a relationship or in a partnership. And those are the ones that are harder to maintain, harder to continue, harder to work on, harder to perpetuate. Elaine and I have a relationship. I constantly joke she's always a year ahead of me. But the point is, we're always growing and improving ourselves. And that's how we stay new and stay together. Neither one of us is the same person we were when we got married over 27 years ago. Thank God. And with as much work as we're constantly doing and as much learning and growing, we're constantly shifting who we are and constantly getting to renew the relationship between who we are. And there's actually science to go with this. University of Texas at Dallas did a study recently that older adults that engage in challenging mental activities actually improve their cognitive functioning. And they worked with a group that was 60 to 90 because they were looking at how to shift even when learning is engaged. Challenging mental activities, that style of learning is engaged much later in life, in the 3rd or 4th act. And while each group, the control group and the actual experiment groups, was occupied in some way, 3 months later, the ones that did a group and one that did activities that required learning showed improvements in memory compared to the other groups. The learning stimulates memory and high-level thinking in the brain. And that can slow the loss of mental activity. And that actually, what we know about neuroplasticity now, it actually can increase neurogenesis, the creation of not only new connections, but neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons. So learning actually keeps your brain younger. This is such an opportunity. So where are you in your world constantly renewing yourself and growing yourself? And where are you giving your brain the opportunity to be younger? Is what we're looking at. Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. How are you staying young? How are you learning? How are you growing yourself? Where are you putting yourself in a community of learners, a community that challenges you, a community that pushes you? Like I said, I just spent the last 4 days in a in a learning community, and today I'm going to my mastermind for a full day here, also here in San Diego, for PC, which is not just a learning community, a community of learning for me, but it's a community where we push each other and test each other and inspire each other and challenge each other. And that's critical too. I will tell you that when I leave tomorrow morning, I'm not sure if I will immediately feel younger. I'm probably going to feel exhausted given what usually happens. Um, but yes, it is an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for expansion. It's an opportunity to be younger. You know, Henry Ford may not be my favorite human or my favorite leader for that matter, but this quote really sticks with me. When you stop learning, you start dying. There's no done. Like there's no there. You don't get to a point where I'm fully baked. The country's full. You don't get to a point where you're done and there's nothing else to learn. There's always something else to learn. There's always an opportunity for growth. There's always an opportunity to be better. You know, there are places where I fall short of that. So a year ago when I first, or 6 months ago when I first came out here to the West Coast for one of these learning intensives, I'd sort of felt like I had reached a plateau. I had reached that place where I loved the coaching, the actual work of coaching. But I gotten sort of blah, sort of bored with the business of coaching and with my practice per se, because I wasn't growing, I wasn't shifting. I had a huge number of one-to-one clients, and the practice of coaching was getting really boring. Um, and what shifted for me in this community of learning was changing how I saw coaching, how I saw the practice of coaching, and how I saw possibility for my practice. So changing that and learn, taking on a whole new set of skills as well. It was an incredible learning opportunity. And it shifted my engagement. A much younger energy, a much more of a drive in the business. I feel reconnected. I was telling the story last night to a woman I met, a CTI coach from the Toronto area. Um, and one of the women in my leadership program 10 years ago, Wendy Hickson, it was really intense the first month of leadership. And she made the comment at one point, I'd like just one day without another effing learning opportunity. And it was feeling sort of exhausting. By the time we got to the third retreat months later, Wendy's comment was, I hope I never have another day without another effing learning opportunity. And I love that idea of learning opportunities every day, finding the learning in everything. Maybe that's the maybe that's the fountain of youth that Ponce de Leon was looking for. that staying forever young by continuing to learn, continuing to stretch your mind and stretch your brain and expand the horizons of what you know and what you can do and what you think and what you believe. And if that's the case, despite all the gray, um, I'll remain ageless. And I think that's what I want to encourage folk for this week is to look at the communities you're in and look at the folk around you and look at the way you're spending your time and be intentional, be choiceful, make decisions about being part of a community that challenges you, being part of a community where you learn, and modeling for those around you, your team and your children, the that learning doesn't stop. And the best way to stay young is to keep learning. So for this week, I would love for you to come to facebook.com/groups/Mindset Monday and share your thoughts and share the places where you go to learn and what you're working on to expand your brain and to stay young. So for this week, where will you lean into learning and what mindset will you choose?